I give and bequeath to my grandnephew, Simon P. Jones, all of my right, title, and interest in, and to the house and land which I own near Mount Holly. The above provision and bequest is contingent on my aforementioned grandnephew discovering the location of the 46th room of my 45-room estate.
Hey everybody! Holy crap. We are here to talk about Blueprints. Blueprints is, this is the creator of the game Blueprints.
Yep.
Tonda Ros, and that's Jason Wishnow.
I'm some guy, hi.
And Jason and I have been playing this game for a while, and we love it. We love it.
We love it.
We're out of our minds about this.
We pretty much do nothing but play it and talk about it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We're super
We are
excited
out of
to be
our,
here.
all I've wanted to do is talk about this game for weeks, and I'm very glad that we get to do so and get to do so with the creator. But we're gonna do something a little different, a little special. We're gonna do this video that you're watching right now is no spoilers. Watch it before you play it. Just kind of like to get you hyped and interested in the game, because this is a 10 out of 10 game. I'll say that up front. Congrats.
Thank you.
This is like one of my favorite games like ever. Up there with Outer Wilds, up there with Myst, up there with Bloodborne, all of them. So good. Very different game than Bloodborne.
No,
but
they're
similar
really very close. Bloodborne was a big inspiration for you,
Bloodborne,
right?
big
Yeah, of
inspiration.
course.
Anyway, so this video is the non-spoilery video. Then we're going to do a separate video, which will probably be just me and Jason screaming weird, obscure secrets at Tonda, and he'll just smile obscurely. And
Yeah, he'll be like, how interesting.
I don't usually respond to much, so
Good.
I was like,
As well you should not.
I was like, interviews are always going to be interesting because it's like, I just usually will just let you talk and be like, yes, maybe.
Maybe that's true.
Okay, well, because you said that, now I'm going to make you introduce the game.
Yeah, tell us about Blueprint.
Tell us about Blueprints.
Okay, Blueprints is an architectural adventure. It's a game that has some elements of mystery. It has some elements of strategy, kind of like more the board game variety of strategy as opposed to like RTS variety.
Yeah,
sure.
Tile drafting.
And it would not be unfair to categorize it as a puzzle game.
I would say so.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that statement.
Although you might think it's a fairly simple puzzle game when you first start.
You might think that.
You might think that.
One might think that.
One might think
Yeah, you might be suspicious, especially after hearing like the preface
What
of,
we
the,
just
of
said.
this
Yeah,
conversation.
And I will say that, like, all of that is a very accurate description of the game, but it does fall into that rare category of game that some have called Metroidbrania.
Yeah.
I think Rogue Psych might be good here. That's me. I came up with that.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Rogue Psych,
Rogue
Rogue
Psych.
Psych.
Discovery games.
It's a discovery
Yeah.
game. It's a game where you learn things about how the game systems function and then use those to further your advancement in the game. Obviously, we're not going to give away exactly how that works, but if you are a fan of The Outer Wilds, of Return of the Obra Dinn, of these types of games, Tunic, Fez, this probably is right up your alley, and you should absolutely check out Blueprints.
Yeah. And it's got a really nice story. The setup is your great uncle, great uncle, has passed away and passed on. You have inherited this mysterious house where every night the rooms change positions. You receiving the inheritance is contingent, though, on you finding a mysterious 46th room in this 45-room mansion.
If it even exists.
Yeah,
we don't know.
who's to say?
Who's to say?
Rumored,
Maybe it's a metaphor.
Rumored
It could be a
46th
metaphor.
room. And yeah, so you start the game, you enter, you draft a room anytime you open a door, go
does
to a
draft
door.
mean? What does draft
You have a choice between 3 different rooms. You're basically choosing what room you're about to go into, right? So you can see the map, your blueprint of the house, blueprints. And it's 5 across, 9 tall. You see that right away.
45. Checks out.
The math.
That's all. I did it. I worked it
Fair
out.
warning, there is some math.
Yes. Most people don't react that way, but I do.
Yeah, Jason.
Love math.
Yeah, there was one thing where I was just like looking at some squiggly lines and just being like, Jason, what the fuck? And I'm like, math.
It's not
We'll
about-
talk about that in the other video.
Okay.
Yeah, so the basics are you draft the rooms and you're creating the house as you go, and you're discovering things, you're noticing things. And it's got a really nice, like surprisingly heartfelt story. I really loved the story. Continue to love the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, goddamn. Like this game, there are so many, I think we could fairly say, just because of the nature of the game, and I've said this in preview stuff too, where it's like, let's say you're drafting a bedroom, right? And you can draft the bedroom on the south face of the house or on the east face of the house. And it'll have windows on those different walls. Or you can draft it in the middle of the house, and it doesn't have any windows. There are so many of different variations, especially when there are other things that you realize later. For every single room,
Yeah.
the numbers down there.
Yeah, I think that's partly why it took so long. I think there was a lot of debate was like, are these decisions really going to be worth it? Are players going to even notice or even care? And especially after watching some people play, like in playtests and stuff, because a lot of people just zero in on door, anything cool in this room, door, you know?
Right.
And so, it really took to some of the players that really can appreciate an environment to kind of start to see some of those details that obviously when you have a house that is moving and shifting rooms, that there's going to be a lot of configurations that won't make it make sense. And we wanted it to not necessarily just totally feel like these random...
Like there were secret portals between the doors.
Yeah, that it was like just like everything
it's spatially
mashed
consistent, right?
together.
Oh, yeah.
We wanted some things to match, especially for some players that maybe like to make their decisions on like what's practical. It's like, a pantry off of a kitchen. That's
Right.
That's practical.
Thematic
Bedroom's got to have windows.
there are-
You're not going to have
what are you,
eastern facing.
crazy?
And they are rare, but there are those type of players that do.
I love that.
That do make those
I
decisions.
bet my wife would play this game very aesthetically.
Yeah.
Like, make the house to make very much sense, like a house.
Yeah.
Every time I pull a lavatory, I'm like, God damn it. Although I'm suspicious. But, like...
We have questions.
But then I'm just like... but then I'm also just like, well, I guess as a house. It would be
it's a
nice to
house.
have a bathroom.
Yeah, you need one.
At least one. At least one.
But that's something that, like, so I'm a developer as well, and you think about those little details, and they take you so much time, and then, like, bugs crop up, and you have to fix them over and over again, and you think to yourself, like, does this really matter? Are players even going to care about this at all? And you're investing months, if not years, of effort into these tiny details. But I think this game is very well suited to making those pay off, because it's a game where, again, without really spoiling anything, you want to look closely at your environment. You want to examine everything around you, and that's when I think those touches really pay off.
And it's also a game where you're spending a lot of time in the same spaces.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of spaces that you might even like, breeze by, maybe exactly like I just described. Door, anything cool in this room? Door. Those players will then later on in the game
realize
suddenly be spending much more time in those rooms that they breezed by. And so, So I think that the effort was worth it in the end. And especially like hearing that you immediately picked up even the very first time you played. I remember you being like, there's windows in this room. We are on the edge of the house. And like, so like, the fact that those things make sense. And obviously we'd had to, create different walls, some with windows, some without, so that all makes sense.
I was telling Jason, I think the other day, that like the first time we ever met, because this is our third time meeting and talking about Blueprints, and I've been like, it's been my most anticipated game for like a year now. I'm like out of my mind for this game. And like, I remember the first time we met and I got to play the game, it was in Germany, I think, at Gamescom. And I sat down and I started playing, and I think it was in like the second or third room, and I just kept looking around, and I remember you just going like, "Oh, you're gonna like this game." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm noticing a lot of weird, random stuff. Like, why is there a playing card and a portrait right here? Like, that seems conspicuous." Anyway, were there any, without giving away anything about scope or anything, were there any moments while you were developing this? Because you've been working on this for what, 8 or 9 years?
8 years.
8 years. And like, I imagine it started with, maybe you can illuminate this too, but like it started probably with the germ of an idea. How many moments along the way were there moments where you were just like, oh God, like the scope of this because of the systems.
Yeah, with scope creep, like, keep hitting you.
Because I can imagine there are moments where you're just like, oh no.
What have I done?
Honestly, I would say surprisingly not, because I had a very strong start.
Okay.
So when I first began the game, I had a fully built out, not even a slice, a full build of the game in the very first maybe 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
You're crazy.
That's very fast.
And so that was what lured me into a false sense of like, this is easy.
Oh, yeah. Like, 2 years tops. 2 years tops.
I mean, because this was really haphazard. Like,
Was it gray boxed environments?
It was
like
asset store. Asset
asset
store. It
store
was like
stuff,
Unity
yeah.
asset store. Download.
yeah.
Furniture, walls.
Right.
Like, boom,
Couch,
let's go.
whatever,
Let's go.
yeah.
Every room had the exact same walls.
Yeah.
Like it was like, so gray box walls with random furniture. But the whole game was playable, and that was the first build. So I had thought that was really easy. Obviously, eventually we scrapped that entire everything. I just went down to 0 again, and this time built everything from scratch with an art director. But I had always, that lured me into a false sense of like, this is going to be a lot easier than I thought. So I always thought we were 1 year out from completion.
Yeah, I feel that.
So I never really had like a oh shit, this is like really crushing.
Yeah.
Because I always felt I was in the final throes
Right.
of the experience.
So what
The
was
positive side of delusion.
Right, exactly.
and then there were some parts where it's like, I want to do more. Yeah, I have greater ambitions with stuff I want to do, and so there was some times where I was like, I really need to finish this up and move on to the next. And I remember after year 5, that just leaves you. It's just acceptance at this point. Like whenever this is done,
The
it's
stages
done.
of grief.
And, like,
Yeah.
And now I'm so pot committed that I'm like, if this takes another 10 years, it takes another 10 years. But like at this point, this is my life.
Yeah.
And it is so.
I mean, it was an 8 years very, very well spent. Like,
Cool.
I am, I'm rooting for this game so much, and like it speaks for itself, and its quality is so high that I don't doubt that, we're filming this like
Couple
a
weeks
week
out,
and a
right?
half
Yeah.
before release, and like, I hope, that this game hits, and I'm sure it will because it just speaks for itself. But it's like,
I'll sell 15 copies.
yeah, this game.
I will sell 15 copies.
This game,
easy.
buy this game. If you've ever liked a puzzle game or a strategy game, this is the game for you.
I was at a party the other night, and I was just being like, "Yo, I know it's not out yet, but Blueprints though." And everyone's like, "What are you talking
It's
about?"
all I
And I'm
think
like,
about.
Trust me.
Yeah.
I think we'll be okay. Like
Yes.
Are you? Because you're farther. So my game's still like 8-9 months out. You're much closer. What is your like? Here's dread and here's like joyful anticipation. Like where are you at right now?
Maybe
both
I'm
combined.
definitely not worried about like how the game does or anything, because like it's already like much bigger than I anticipated, even just in the,
like wish
the
list
hype.
values.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
in the hype things. Obviously, Raw Fury just supported us really well in marketing, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah, they
like
did a good job.
it was. So I'm already happy. Like
Great.
and
Winner.
my whole
Nothing
my whole
bonus.
thing was like, I thought this was gonna like appeal to like at least like the
Freaks
people
like us.
Freaks like
the
us.
people I created it for, because I really just created it for the type of game I want to play, and without any other considerations,
Yeah.
and that involved making some, choices that I thought would not be popular.
Yeah.
But that was what I want to see in a game, So like, so I'm happy that you all enjoyed it, and that's kind of and then kind of for me, like that's like good enough that the people that I made it for find it. And
for us.
yeah,
Wow. Just us. No one else. Us too.
and and so I'm good. Like, so I have no
Hell
dread.
yeah.
So there's no dread.
No dread.
The only thing I dread is that there'll be technical issues, but that's kind of why I started playtesting 4 years ago, is to
That's the move.
because obviously in any game that's so non-linear and so many pieces and so many systems,
There's so many weird combinations of
yeah,
like, things that can occur.
yeah.
Just
So
from the
I
number of
needed-
rooms,
I
yeah.
needed to do that. I knew that traditional QA was just not going to be feasibly
impossible.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mathematically, it's like impossible.
Yeah. 9 by 5. It multiplies.
Yeah, do you know what 45 factorial is? It's like more than the number of atoms in the universe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And there's probably
But it's 110 or whatever.
And that's why we can say no 2 days will be
Will be
alike.
the
in
same.
that
It'll
game.
never be
Yeah.
the same ever. You could play for the rest of eternity. It would never happen.
Yeah, when I learned that about playing cards, where it's like
Yeah, 52 factorial.
you could never shuffle the same deck
great.
of playing
It's like 10
cards
to the
ever.
168th
So
power.
counterintuitive.
Yeah, I'm like,
so
what?
counterintuitive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very hard to talk about this game without getting anything specific, without giving anything away.
Watch yourself out
So yeah,
If you want to go into this with like a good experience, you might want to potentially avoid. I mean, maybe the Steam forums. You might want to avoid Blue Sky or other social
Yeah.
media. Like, if I firmly recommend going into this game as purely as you can, like without any foreknowledge of what's
and
coming.
like my experience of playing it alongside Jason, because you and I got the codes around the same time. So like, we've been talking about it,
We
but
fork
very, very like obscurely, so as not to spoil anything with each other. But we can confirm things with each other, and we can,
Yeah, I'd be like, have you got into a room that begins with this letter? Like, and I was like,
that's
oh
clever,
yeah, you must
clever.
mean this.
Yeah, exactly, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I really loved that way of playing it through, because it's like there's someone else to,
Oh,
because
100%.
Bounce
you're
ideas
drafting
off of.
rooms. There are going to be runs where your like soul is crushed.
Yes,
because
I had a
you,
couple.
You kill a run when you like had everything in
Everything
place
was just
except
right,
one thing, and
and
you're
then
just
one
like,
thing fails.
oh my god. But like, don't be discouraged. Similar to Outer Wilds, like death is a learning experience. Time is a resource. You can't really fail, so just enjoy yourself and have a nice time.
With one exception.
I mean, shut up. But like, you know what you mean. You know what I mean.
Almost you cannot fail. I agree with that.
Like
It's
there are, whatever. You're fine. And like, I would say resist the urge to look up a safe combination or something like that online. Resist the urge to find a solution online.
Keep exploring.
Keep exploring,
There's
because
there's so many threads to pull at. Like,
Yeah.
even if, don't get obsessed with like one thread.
the answers are out there. The truth is out
The
there.
truth is out there.
X-Files.
According to you, my playthrough is like bizarre. Like, I'm not doing it apparently right.
No, there's no right or wrong. Like I feel like it's designed for those. You're gonna have people who find a room on day one,
Right.
That
Yeah.
you haven't. Like your friend might find a room on day one that you haven't seen.
He's
in-
his favorite room I've never seen.
Yeah, my favorite room. I'm like, Isla, you've gotten to this room right now. I was like, I've never seen that
in
room.
40 days. So like it's just going to be different experiences, and I feel like that's why it can be personal. I mean, I feel like that's a huge. It's almost a trope in game design that like, oh, every session is unique. So I don't think that is unique either to this game. But I tried to design something that would feel good. And I would like to say that I definitely recommend playing either in person with friends or
Get a little group, get a little
simultaneous
group
together.
with them.
Yeah.
If you want to play it alone, like it's not something that requires community effort to solve
Yeah.
anything.
good
I wanted
point.
I wanted to mention that. It's
think-
not like Animal Well where you need 60
Like,
people.
you have to crowdsource.
You can do the whole thing solo. It might take a while because it's a lot, but you can do the entire thing solo. But I definitely recommend playing with friends because it's just fun.
It's really fun.
We won't show you the details, but Isla has a
Well,
psychotic notebook.
I'm gonna show Tonda my insane rambling like Grail notebook notes. I think I have. Oh God, it's like
Mine's a little more
it's like
digital.
20 pages.
Mine's a little more digital, but it's
Aw.
equally unhinged.
My wife left me a message in here. And I've got 400 photographs in my.
Yeah,
phone,
I've got
too.
my Steam screenshots
Yeah,
folder. My
yeah,
Steam
yeah,
Deck
yeah,
screenshots folder's popping off.
Not to unintentionally hint at the scope, which we were trying not to
Isla
do.
just enjoys the
game-
architecture of the
I
rooms.
love
That's loves architecture.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all buttresses.
It's a
and
small,
shit.
innocent game.
Yeah, there's
Well,
nothing more
this
to
is
it.
a little tiny little baby game.
Let me hang on.
Yeah, go.
Well, wait. I'm gonna land the plane on this video,
plane,
and then we'll
land-
go into the bigger
Yeah,
video.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Yes. Sorry, it's hard to talk about this without spoiling anything. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna do another video that'll come up maybe a little after the game is out. I want to give people some time before they even have
Couple
the
weeks,
option.
probably.
That's
maybe a week
that's
or something.
responsible.
You know. Blueprints responsibly. Anyway, please play this game. It's one of my favorites of all time. And come back when you were maybe
the thick
once
of
you've
it.
got credits, come back and watch the other video. And we will be here to talk weird, obscure stuff with you. look forward to it. And Tonda, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
My
you for
pleasure, my
coming.
pleasure.
Thank you for coming.
And check out patreon.com/DC Allies if you like this kind of stuff. We do podcasts every week. We've got streams. We've got all kinds of preview coverage. So check us out. Thank you, Tonda. Thank you, Jason. And look out for that other video. We will come back soon for that. Thank you.
I suspect you wish me to look into your future.